What if I told you the WNBA's biggest superstar might just walk away from it all? Picture this. Caitlin Clark, the woman who single-handedly dragged professional women's basketball into the spotlight, packing her bags and leaving behind a league that seems hell-bent on destroying its own golden goose. This isn't just speculation anymore. It's becoming a legitimate conversation that has fans, analysts, and even rival players questioning whether the WNBA deserves its most valuable asset. The numbers are absolutely staggering, and they paint a picture that should terrify league executives. When Caitlin Clark stepped onto WNBA courts, she didn't just join the league, she became it. Her rookie season with the Indiana Fever transformed a struggling franchise into must-see television. Games featuring Clark averaged over 1 million viewers, while the rest of the league barely scraped together 400,000. That's not just popularity, that's complete market dominance. 23 games hit 7-figure viewership in 2024, and Clark was involved in all but 3 of them. To put that in perspective, you had to scroll down to the 15th most watched game of the season to find one without the Fever. But the real kicker, economists determined that Clark was responsible for more than a quarter of all WNBA economic activity last season. Merchandise sales, ticket prices, television deals, her fingerprints were on everything. The Fever went from averaging 4,000 fans per home game to over 17,000 overnight. That's not gradual growth. That's a complete transformation of a franchise's entire business model. Teams started moving games to bigger arenas just to accommodate the demand when Clark came to town. Yet somehow, this incredible success story has turned into a nightmare of targeting, cheap shots, and inexplicable referee decisions that make you wonder if they're watching the same game as everyone else. Clark's rookie season wasn't just about breaking records. It was about surviving a gauntlet of players who seemed more interested in knocking her down than actually playing basketball. The Marina Mabrey incident perfectly encapsulated everything wrong with how the league handles its biggest star. A blatant shove that had nothing to do with basketball, followed by commentary suggesting Clark somehow brought it on herself. The pattern became undeniable. Hard fouls that crossed the line. Referees who subbed how she should conduct herself. The hypocrisy was breathtaking. Trash talk is part of basketball until Clark does it. Then, suddenly, it's unsportsmanlike conduct, worthy of physical retaliation. Then came the Olympic snub that exposed just how deep the resentment runs. Despite transforming the sport's popularity and putting up historic numbers, Clark was left off Team USA for the Paris Olympics. The official explanation about conflicting schedules and team chemistry fooled absolutely nobody. Here was a player who'd single-handedly elevated women's basketball to unprecedented heights, and she couldn't even get a courtesy call from USA Basketball. The message was crystal clear. Your impact doesn't matter if the old guard doesn't approve. What followed was a fan revolt unlike anything the WNBA had ever seen. Social media exploded with supporters demanding justice, accountability, and, most tellingly, suggesting Clark would be better off anywhere else. The Protect Caitlin movement evolved from online activism to a genuine grassroots campaign, questioning whether the league deserved her talents. Fans who had never watched women's basketball before Clark weren't just disappointed, they were disgusted by what they witnessed. The European option started looking more attractive by the day. Overseas leagues began circling like sharks, offering not just better money, but something far more valuable: respect. In Europe, Clark could play basketball without dodging elbows disguised as defense. She could compete without every possession becoming a referendum on her worthiness. Most importantly, she could be appreciated rather than tolerated, celebrated rather than targeted. Here's where it gets truly wild. If Clark actually walked away, she wouldn't just be leaving the WNBA. She'd be taking half the audience with her. The playoff ratings after her elimination proved that point brutally. Games that should have been the season's climax became afterthoughts once Clark went home. The league's marquee event suddenly felt like a minor tournament without its biggest draw. The nuclear scenario isn't just Clark leaving, it's Clark succeeding somewhere else while the WNBA implodes. Imagine her signing with a European powerhouse, breaking attendance records abroad, and proving that the problem was never her attitude or approach, but the league's inability to handle greatness. Picture highlight reels of her dominating in arenas where fans actually appreciate what they're watching, while WNBA games struggle to maintain relevance. What makes this entire situation so maddening is how easily preventable it was. The league had lightning in a bottle, a transcendent talent who brought mainstream attention, corporate sponsors, and generational excitement. All they had to do was protect their investment and let her play. Instead, they allowed petty jealousies and backwards thinking to create an environment where their biggest star became everyone's favorite target. The irony is almost too perfect. A league desperate for attention spent 2 years systematically alienating the one person who actually delivered it. They had their Tiger Woods, their Michael Jordan moment, and they nearly fumbled it away through sheer incompetence and misplaced priorities. Clark's contract technically keeps her in Indianapolis through 2027, but contracts mean nothing if a player decides they're done with the nonsense. She's already proven she can elevate any team, any league, any sport she touches. The question isn't whether she could succeed elsewhere, it's whether the WNBA can survive without her. The league finds itself in an impossible position. Admit they failed their biggest star and completely overhaul their approach, or double down on the dysfunction and watch their golden age slip away. Because make no mistake, if Caitlin Clark walks away from the WNBA, she won't be leaving quietly. She'll be taking the spotlight, the sponsors, the casual fans, and the cultural relevance with her. And the truly scary part for the WNBA, she'd probably be better off without them. Clark has already proven she doesn't need the league's approval to be great. The question is whether the league can swallow its pride long enough to realize they need her far more than she needs them. The clock is ticking, and every controversial call, every cheap shot, every media narrative that paints her as the problem pushes the WNBA closer to losing the best thing that ever happened to it. In a league starving for mainstream relevance, they somehow found a way to make their biggest meal feel unwelcome at the table. This isn't just about one player's career anymore. It's about whether an entire league has the wisdom to recognize greatness when it's staring them in the face, or if they'll let pride and politics destroy their one shot at lasting significance. The WNBA's future might literally walk out the door if they can't figure out how to treat their most valuable asset like the game-changing superstar she's already proven to be.